No, it started in 2008. I had the idea in 2007.
Yes. Then we selected the name.
Yeah, in 2007.
2007. Then we talked about it. I remember when we're talking about there's a show in the US called Noah's Ark, remember?
Yep.
It's around this time, right?
Yeah,
and all that. And it's very interesting to me that we're sort of almost coming full circle now, because to a very large extent, it does come across as if, so much has happened in the industry and all that. And yet at the same time, nothing has really changed. So I really just want to start the conversation, I really just hand it over to the youngest of the three of us, Bolaji, and just say, no, Bolaji, how do you feel right now?
Being the youngest, or?
Oh, well, just being here right now, having this conversation. So I'm just handing it over to you. How do you feel right now?
Feels great. And I'm sure I've told Larry this before. A couple of my colleagues already know this speech. For me, it was a case of finding the like mind to work with. And if you know how it works in the creative industry, I like taking examples from the Renaissance era where parents will look for the right master and have their kids do their internship or come up with them. For example, you realize that all of the greats, you can't isolate them from the names of who they worked with and who brought them up. So for me, not to say that it wasn't great working with you, Femi, it was. But finding earlier with him and for him was like the clincher for me, really.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. But you do know, that it's actually a very, very interesting conversation that we're having now, because I wouldn't have met you without meeting Larry. Do you know that?
True.
So Larry was the one exactly, I would say exactly, give or take, because Larry resumed in advertising, if I recall, on April 1st.
April 1st, yeah. 2000.
And I resumed
at Insight. That will be 1997.
Yes. No, but you resumed at Insight on April 1st. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And I resumed on April 1st, 98 or 99, I think. I can't remember. But then beyond that is the fact that Larry was the one that gave me my copy test at Insight.
Yeah, I think I heard the story before.
And beyond that was that before I took on the job at DDB, Larry was the one that convinced me to take the job. Wow. So I wouldn't have met you. Because I got the job offer and I was all panicky. I was like, Larry, I need to meet you. I need to talk to you right now, And then he came to come and meet me and I explained everything to him. And he was like, Femi, I really, really think you should take on this challenge and all that. So to a large extent, we're all here because Larry is here.
Clearly.
Yeah. I never saw it that way.
And very interesting.
Goes back to my point earlier about, when you came to DDB back then, and it was all, I was there was Kingsley Efere, Big Sly, Baba Shege, Abdul, Tunde Sule. It was a couple of big wigs, and there was Chuma Obumselu, and we're all looking like, who's this new guy? What is he coming to do? Where is he coming from? And there'll be egos and everything. And I think part of the trick, the tools, in a satchel that a creative leader has is how you were able to douse all of that ego and like, hey guys, relax. I'm here to work for you. We're here to do this together. And I think those are the.
I wasn't sure. I thought I was hoping that I came across like.
Guys, I think we need to play that tape now because we've got an audience waiting.
Oh, we do have an audience now. Okay,
yes, you're live now.
I told Bolaji, you have a nice little show reel for us that we can use to just segue into the conversation. Do you have that?
Yes, I do. So let me
the video thing
real quick. Yeah. Go to full screen.
Don't mind, that's me, the cat.
So, but Larry, while we're talking, is that the interesting thing was what was the feeling in 2007 when you had this thing in your head?
We can't see the video.
No,
yet.
We can't see the video yet.
We can see the cat that is napping.
All right. So let me unshare that. Stop sharing screen.
Yeah, you need to stop that if it's a different file. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So in 2007, okay.
Yeah, we're there. Okay. There's no sound.
I think we have an audio problem.
But Bolaji, can you check with your headphones first, and then I can continue talking with Larry. I really want him to talk to us about, just share about the feeling and his state of mind in 2007 when this vision took hold.
Okay, I've had cause to talk about this at different times, but I never get tired of thinking back to that time. I must say that for starters, I never thought I was going to start an agency because I had a morbid fear of business, as it were, like most creatives. I just wanted to do my creative and, hang my boots someday, maybe start an advertising school, which was my ambition, by the way. But I think for me, there was something about clocking 40, and Bolaji will hold me on this, because there's somebody still referred to my story of clocking 40. I'm not a birthday person, by the way, but there was something about 40 that kept nagging at me about what next. And I took a look at our industry, and even though I was in a very vibrant agency, TBWA, but I thought there was little competition in our industry, and we're not really going forward. And at the risk of whatever it was, I thought, you know what? Damn business, damn whatever those fears are, I'm going to start an agency. And it was like an epiphany of sorts. I was on the Third Mainland Bridge going home. I was in traffic, dozing off and on. And, then I had that feeling that, you know what, I'm going to start an agency. Got home, told my wife, and it was like, is that what you want to do? It was really, benefit of hindsight was risky because, she wasn't working. We had 4 boys in private school, paying top dollars. And here I was with no promise of an account or talent or anything. And I was just going to dive into it. And that was what I did. And I thought it was, for me, I've always felt that it's important to leave something behind more than anything else. And, the thought of that for me was stronger than the fear of what could have happened. The other thing I don't tell people most times is that my subconscious was at work. Prior to that time in October, I think in September, we had a very terrible experience, something traumatic with me and my family, had a robbery thing. The car was stolen eventually, the entire family, and, we found ourselves in Ogun State, had to go back home like 12 midnight. And after that experience, I felt light inside me. And I was asking myself, Larry, you could have just ended your life there. So what's going to happen now going forward? What would you do? What would you leave behind? And I think that thought at the back of my mind kept me in some kind of overdrive about what next. So as of October, I was thinking what next, and I thought I was going to start an agency. December was my birthday, I was 40, and by that time it was all wrapped up, and January the agency actually started, even though I joined the agency later in March or thereabout. So that was my story. And it took me more than 6 months, 7 months before thinking back, Larry, that was crazy, that could have just failed. That was a big risk. But that wasn't.
But I remember when you were telling me about it, and I was actually quite excited because it's funny that you say that you never thought of starting an agency, but those of us that have worked with you, it was an inevitable to us. It was almost, and I think you remember when you were telling me about it, and I was like, okay, about time, finally, what's going on, kind of thing. And that's a very, very interesting thing when when the people that surround you and your colleagues and your friends see so much more than you see in yourself, because we always knew that this was where it was going to end, and we're very excited about that journey and all that. But let's talk about, this conversation is really about the creative collaboration between yourself and Bolaji. Really, it's not so much about Noah's Ark itself. So, how did you guys meet? From whose point of view? Who wants to tell me the story?
I think Bolaji should start, because I was sitting alone, like they say in Lagos, JJ in my office, motorway center, and I was told somebody was looking for me. Prior to that time, I'd never met him, he came into the office, and I think Bolaji should take it from here.
All right. So my good boss at DDB then, George Umuna, that was always telling us about FCNA days, and Larry Adisa, and that boy wrote some brilliant copy for me. I was like, who's this boy? But I think the truth was, my boss, who's now the CTO at MTN, Bayo Adekombi, mentioned sometime that something like the incident that Ellie had that gave him that epiphany. For me, it was a case of, Bolaji, take a look at the landscape and see how many creative directors we have that are local. Like, we really don't have Nigerian creative directors. Most of them, before Femi Kayode came to DDB, were white. And then he further the argument by saying that if you also look at it again, even though we have white ones, the local ones are mainly copywriters. So it's tougher for art directors to become creative directors, one. And then mostly, all of these companies want to always bring in an expatriate to be the creative director of the agency. So I think when the news broke that Larry had started Noah's Ark, it was my late friend, Debola Batunde, that we fondly call Underscore, that rushed to me downstairs, what we call the shindig at DDB back then, and came to say, Allow Sati, Larry has started his agency. And we're like, damn, that's a good move. If only we were grown enough to partner with him and start together, that would be the place to be. And it was just like that. We mentioned that and we laughed about it and we moved on. Then down the line, I said, hey, how about I, follow up on these thoughts? So I put my portfolio on a flash drive and I know my good friend Solo Bonosafile and a couple of guys were already working with Larry Adisa. So I said, let me go show him my portfolio. And then I came to his office and he welcomed me and I showed him. But it was a guy, we're new and what you might be asking for from where you're coming from.
Can't pay DDB money.
Exactly. We can't pay DDB money. It will be a senior role, but I'll get back to you when that role is available. And I said, well, thank you. And I left. Fast forward to like a year later, we started speaking and hey, we are where we are. That's why
I think you guys have skipped one or two things because I do feel a bit like a matchmaker here. So when you visited Larry in his office, Larry called me and Larry was like, I met this very interesting guy and I really, really like him. And I actually think that you actually texted me and I said, let's talk. And what you basically said was like, my spirit connects with him. That's what Larry said. And I was like, Bolaji is a very cool guy. Do you really want him? Is he thinking, is he having of two minds? And literally like a week later, Bolaji texted me to say, Oga, I'm thinking of this, or what do you think, kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, this is funny because now I'm like in the middle of two people that I admire and I love so much, like almost like planning this. Guys, kind of, but looking down 10 years down the line, after a couple of meetings, I remember you guys met at Barcelos once.
Yeah, we did like
you had this long conversation.
Before it was destroyed.
Barcelos, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, which is very interesting because Barcelos does not exist anymore, but you guys exist. So there's an irony there, right?
They moved to another part of Gallery, but that particular Barcelos, which was more beautiful, Doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So what I want to know is there, down 10 years down the line, those kind of discussion and the envisioning that you guys had together, do you think you achieved it all, or is there's something that has not been achieved? Did you write down the vision, so to speak, or did you just talk about it? How did you execute that discussion over the past 10 years to where we are now?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had like 2 major sessions as launch sessions at Barcelos, and Bolaji, I think, is a details man, so he captured these in some lengthy email and shared with me in terms of what we discussed, what we're looking for, what we'll do, and all that, which was very good, because it's good to know that you're on the same page more than anything else. And like you rightly said, our spirit connected. Prior to having Bolaji on board, the agency was going to just walk around me. It was about second guessing what I was thinking, what was Ellie thinking, all that. And I thought that was not the kind of agency I wanted to build. So I had somebody there before who was leading, who preferred to do the bulk of the work. So his head was buried in the work, and he wasn't commanding the respect of the team. So Bolaji comes on board based on all that we've said, and he's not, going to do the work. He's going to make you do the work, but was able to inspire the team in a way that brought new energy, competition. And in no time, guys with no experience in advertising were coming in, and in 6 months or less, they were like flying all around the place. And some of them are creative directors, even as we speak today. So for me, that was a different thing. We connected. I remember he started out with, trying to look for the most interesting ads of the week or the month and giving recognition to those behind those things. Part of the connection also was that we needed to put ourselves on the global map, which was very important to us. And, I'm sure you can speak to some of the things that we did based on that thinking.
Yeah. But do you want to show some of those past works that you have on that and talk through some of them, some of the early works?
Especially our first ad in archive, if you can just bring that on board, which was a self-promotion.
Give me a second to quickly speak my network.
Yeah, the one from Wazak, the self-promotion. Yeah.
Am I here? Am I back?
Yeah, you're there. Yeah, we can see you.
So that's it. If I may come in now, I think it was a case of, I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do, and LA, empowered me to an extent. And I think I needed to communicate that vision directly to the guys I met on ground. And just like Femi did back when he joined us at DDB, for us to, make it come alive. But there weren't too many tools to work with. There weren't too many things to move around. So we kind of it was very rough, very guerrilla style, and we had to do it ourselves. One of the things I noted was the fact that, hey, you need to let the work speak for the agency. You can't just hide your work or not showcase your work and expect that people will know about you. So we had a couple of agencies are doing it well now, but we had to take that social approach to say, hey, whatever good work we have, however, whatever we think about it, we will post it, we will share it, we will see how far, it goes. Another thing was that we wanted to be that challenger brand, in that, a lot of people turn down pitches. A lot of people will be like, oh, you guys are just energy drink in a sachet. Oh, it's just, a powder drink. Oh, it's just some product that is not NAFDAC approved yet. We will take it, we will pitch it, we will do great work for it, and we will showcase those works. And we were really hungry. We just wanted to, to do good work. And one of the things that has been my compass through the years is the fact that when you want to do good advertising, sometimes, you go to all of these big agencies and you test the work, right? You do a link test. For creative work, how are you sure that your truths are indeed universal, or that your social insight is bang on, or that I can connect with other clients? My test has been that, hey, if you can submit it to Ads of the World and you have this guy called, this crazy Ivan Raz, who cuts down work anyhow. If you can pre-select your work and showcase it on his site, or even go a step higher, submit it to Lotsa's archive. You have Michael Winsett, who is also has been doing this for over 30 years. If you can showcase your work and be like, this looks good enough, then clearly, local judges, local clients, anybody, it doesn't matter. It's been, vetted at the highest level. And I think, we did that with this work that you're seeing on the screen. And then it just kind of got easier after that.
I think that's a very fascinating insight, because you know me, I've never been a big fan of awards ceremonies and all that. I believe in the work, but one of the things that Noah's Ark has actually done for me is actually shown the power of creativity, and that when creativity rises beyond what you can almost say, when creativity uses local nuance to create world-class work, it shows. And that's exactly what you're saying now, just using those local nuance. And I remember then in a lot of our conversations, Larry, if you remember, we're always so impressed with the Indian advertising and the Brazilian advertising, how indigenous it is. And yet, it's right there at the top kind of thing. Yeah. But what I want to really talk about, because also I feel that a lot of people that are watching this right now are also young, hungry, creative people that are just wondering how it's done. And I think that there's a part that a lot of people are also not aware of, or are not willing to think about. And that is the amount of what you can say personal growth and investment that you guys put in yourself as human beings, not just in the agency, but also almost like feeding yourself, and making sure that you're not just empowered because you're talented, but there's a discipline and a craftsmanship and a training that goes into it. And I just wanted, maybe Larry can say a bit about that in himself, what he has done for himself as a person, and Bolaji, also yourself.
Well, thanks. For me, I think the job that we're in is one that can easily, sap you. You know that more than anybody else. And I think you've been luckier that you were able to, along the line also, maintain your space with your writings and all that. So for me, I think it's been more of, I take pride in nurturing talent. And I think to me, that's where the joy is really. And so maybe it's back to the idea of me wanting to start an advertising school, and the fact that I'm still on that journey. Actually, I've started it in a way, with Noah's Ark. There's a school we call Animal Farm, which is still coming on. So for me, it's important to do that. So I'm always seeking out stuff, always, trying to see where I can I don't do enough of that now, but I know I did a whole lot of that when I was still young in the business, connecting with the art world, the plays, the concerts, a few exhibitions here and there. I'm a big person when it comes to music. Bolaji can attest to that. I'm eclectic with music, any kind of music. It may not
go on, except Celine Dion.
Remember, you know that story. That's a different story. So I'm big on music. I'm very curious, so I tend to, I love reading more than anything else, reading all sorts of subjects. And that's one thing and people wonder, how do you manage to do that with all the things that you have to do? I think you have to do that. You have to nurture your mind more than anything else. The internet is wide and open to all sorts of things. So I use it to the best of my ability to nurture the things that are important to me. The one bit I've not done enough of is where you have beaten me very well, is, doing more of my own creative writing, which again, I think is very important. And my professor warned me, David Cook, of blessed memory, Larry, advertising is going to try and grab that from you. You have to fight back and get what you can get. But you know what? It's an ongoing fight. That's it.
It's never too late. Never too late. But Bolaji, what about you? I remember one of my most wonderful experiences with you was when you won the Cannes Lion, and you and my dear Debola had to go to France. And I remember you were like, oh no, we're never going to go. It's not going to happen. And I will never ever forget. I remember getting on an Okada from DDB I'm going to the French embassy, and I sat down there until I saw the consular officer, and I said, no, I am not leaving here until these two people get a visa. But one of the things that was always very fascinating to me was your passion for self-development, and the ease at which you're able to quickly, as soon as you learn something, it's almost as if your learning is not complete until you share it. And I think that's something you and Larry have in common. It's like the learning is only complete when it's shared. When you sort of like, almost like, I mean, even after I left DDB, I remember you still send work to me and you want feedback, kind of thing. So I just want to know, how did you take that further? What after the Cannes Lion and leaving DDB? I know you did quite a number of things, but for the benefit of our audience, talk to me about that.
But the credit goes right back to you, because you were the one that taught us, most of these things, really, honestly, Femi. Because I remember clearly that it would, down to TV shows, you'd be like, oh, I've got these new shows, it's called Weeds. Oh, the acting is perfect. Make sure you guys see it. Oh, I've got this book. Have you guys read this? Make sure you get it. It was always you, always ensuring that we were not just good on the job, but in terms of pop culture and soaking in everything around. That we drank from the same well, so that, hey, when you speak, we will get you easily. And I think you did that very well. And I remember that 2009 Young Lions, myself and Debola represented Nigeria at Cannes Lions, and it was it was mind blowing. It was the first time we were there, and we competed, even though we didn't win, the international competition. It was an eye opener. And then the first thing I told Debola was, hey, guy, we can't just go back empty-handed. I know it was not mandated, but we need to share this knowledge. So we archived all we learned. We had a lengthy presentation. We did all of that. And we, of course, shared with the agency. And I think that was kind of where one of the, I'm not going to get to that question, but one of our driving force at Noah's Ark is the proactive spirit. And I think that was where mine came from, in that if you want to roll with this crowd that you met at Cannes, you have to go beyond the brief, as it were. You have to be able to preempt the clients, as if you're a true custodian of their brand. You have to be able to see that, oh, this is what is lacking. This is what I can do beyond, oh, this is the box they put for me, but I can grow wings and fly out of that and do more stuff. And I think that's what we've always been trying to do. And back to the question that led to this is the fact that myself and Ellie, we have this feeling that we're going to end up in a classroom someday. And that just goes to show you that, hey, it really is true. If we haven't, passed on that knowledge, the cycle is not complete.
Yeah, and that's very exciting too, because I just want to quickly point to that when you said I did that, I did that. But what Larry is saying about music and all of that, that's how I know that Celine Dion and him, they have a very contentious relationship. And because we always share a lot of that in the early days, that insight in those days. And he was coming from M&C Saatchi. So he had this wealth of experience and all that. And M&C Saatchi was a very young, vibrant agency then, and what I'm trying to point out here is that one of the things that I learned from Larry, especially, is something. The truly great ones are generous. And I know he doesn't remember saying that. We always used to say it when we were talking about the Leo Bonnets of this world. Remember the guy, the one that writes the copy for The Economist?
Yeah, that's
Abbott? David Abbott, yes.
David Abbott, yeah.
David Abbott, yeah. And when you listen to those guys, you can see a huge amount of generosity. And that was always my driving force. And that's what I love about Noah's Ark. And that is that not keeping it to yourself, not keeping the knowledge, not keeping the experience, not keeping the pitch, not keeping all of that to yourself, but spreading it around and making sure that the glory and the benefit and the knowledge spreads around, not just even the Noah's Ark team, but also the industry in itself. Because when you guys were showing up those work that you were doing, prior to that, agencies were selling themselves. Agencies were not selling their work. Agencies were selling, oh, we won this pitch, but we don't know how you won it, or we just hired Bolaji, but we don't know how Bolaji got there. So it was a lot of the work that agencies were publicizing in Nigeria then had a lot more to do with almost PR. And what you guys did was that you took it out there and you said, you know what, let's show them what we're doing. Let's show the world what we're doing. But also in showing the world what we're doing, what you guys managed to do, at least to my experience and what I noticed, was you said, so can you. And that is what is so exciting for me about the Spirit of Noah's Ark. It's not about us. It's about we can do it. And because we can do it, and because we look like you, and because we are from the same place where you are, so can you. And so I'm just wondering whether in your experience over the past couple of years, at least, have you noticed that spirit coming back like karma, like a cycle coming back and reinforcing that spirit of generosity? Are you getting generosity back from the industry?
Larry, I think you're muted.
Yes, I'm muted. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So that's a very good point to make, really. I remember when I was going to start out, the day I decided I was going to start an agency, I actually had one little green book and I was jotting my ideas. And one of the things I jotted down was that I was hoping that this agency would inspire a new generation in terms of thinking, in terms of where we need to be. But I thought, give it to the generation of Biodun Shobanjo and co. They've done well for their generation. They've moved us, some miles, on this journey, and we needed to take it on from them. And I couldn't think of anybody in my generation that was doing anything I was very proud of. So I was hoping that despite everything to do with business, I could play some intervention sort of role. And I was hoping that would be able to change things. And I think with all sense of modesty, thinking back, that we've been able to achieve that to a great degree. I look at the wave of agencies that came after us. Even from the naming convention, you could see some inclination towards a more creative inclined, kind of culture, and more creative people were emboldened to go out and start something of their own, which is something very good. And when you look at it in terms of the work as well, at last we can, back to your allusion to the Indian scenario, the Brazilian scenario, that we can feature ourselves in our work in a way that can really uplift, our understanding and appreciation of our own local experiences, and that international audience can appreciate it. And I give an example. The AMI work for Airtel, which won Grand Prix and made us Agency of the Year at Crystal, I think 2018 or thereabout in Morocco. The guys there said, look, she was speaking Yoruba, but I could relate with her. I could see my mom in what she was doing. I could see any mom, wherever in Africa and all that, and it made a whole lot of sense. So for us, that's the kind of thing that, with the kind of work we want to do, that can inspire not just ourselves, but the larger creative community and the audience in particular. I mean, I see people come up to me and say, oh, I love that particular work. And they're writing the next story for you before you know it, that kind of a thing. For me, that's the kind of, that's what we set out to do, yeah.
And that's a very interesting thing, because that gives us the perfect segue, because time is going to, you cannot tell the Noah's Ark story without the Airtel narrative. And one of our biggest clients here in the media is MTC, which is also a telco. And I always get the team together to come and watch a lot of Airtel ads, as benchmark, just watch it and just see, because it's so easy to watch something from Orange in France, or to watch something from, wherever, and lose sight and go for the spectacle and not the human experience, which has the local nuance and the people your direct audience can relate with. And that's what Airtel, for me, has consistently done, to actually go back and really lift. The only way I can say it is to lift what you call the Nigerian experience, move it to the African experience, and move it from the African experience to the human experience. And when you're able to achieve that, you will have what is called the universal story, which is what every creative really wants to do, to tell a universal story. So I wanted Bolaji, maybe to just tell us, just a bit, what's your approach to Airtel creativity, that brand world, and how and the extent to which you have pushed the envelope, and Is there more that can be done in that space, or have you guys hit the ceiling?
Yeah, so I think for a couple of years, I was concerned about our film work because my background, I'm an illustrator, I'm a painter, so the prints came easy. And we won a couple of awards early on, got featured in all the great publications. So I woke up to LA someday and I said, I am concerned about our film work. And I was so concerned that I was like, oh, do you think I should take a directing course or a screenwriting course or something so that, things can be better? And I remember what he told me that day was film is about, it's not about just us. It's about finding the right partner, the right client that would want the right stuff. So I think when we won the Airtel pitch and the new brand team came on, it was the partnership just worked. They charged us, they knew what they wanted, and they demanded for it. And of course, we rose to the occasion. And you guys have spoken about Brazil and India, and it was a simple case of replicating what those guys had done in terms of mining their local nuances and experience and just telling their own stories to the world. And that's all we've done. And I don't see us eating any ceiling yet because, like we all know, we've really just barely scratched the surface. We have a series going on with the in-laws that's funny and quirky, and we could stretch that as far as we can. And of course, we have a couple of other properties that we're currently developing that we feel people will like. We just launched Rainmaker, which is clearly a metaphor for people believing in false gods and following stuff that wouldn't pan out or will lead to inconsistency rather than staying on our network. And I mean, stories like that are they're all around us. They've been untold largely, and I mean, sky is the limit, really.
Great. Larry,
the other point I was going to make about it. Yeah, go on. I'll just take it from you. Yeah, go on, please.
Okay, no, I just wanted to sort of talk about this whole idea of an agency is only as good as the creative, or the client. Which one do you fall in? Are you as good as your client, or are you as good as the idea?
I think it's more of one and a little bit of the other. It's expected that you should have ideas first and foremost. Otherwise, why did you open the shop to start with? But I think it takes that chemistry of a willing client that is ready to go. But again, don't let us gloss over the fact. I also know of people in our industry who would say, oh, I could have done that, but I don't think my leadership team will be willing to do that. You understand? So it's a combination of the two, really, if you look at it. I mean, there are times that Bolaji and co will come, with some ideas, and it's like, even for me, it might just be like, you think that is too crazy. You think we can do that, But it's easier for me as a creative to say, yeah, about my personal preferences, but I think there's something here that is bound to the brand that can get people on the edge of their seats, and for that reason, let's just give it a push. And I mean, so it's easier for him to get things, and he knows. I mean, there are things I may worry a little about and say, but most times he will get a yes from me. I mean, and I think that's what it is. So that is very important. So that has helped us to create the right kind of environment for ideas to thrive. Now, when you have that, you also need to have that kind of thinking at the other side. Whoever is going to sign off must be willing to make, and we've seen this with some clients. We've seen some clients of ours that we thought held so much promise, but because somebody is somewhere. So it's a combination of the two. And that can be really painful when you see there's a brand here, there's a big opportunity to do something here, but there is no willingness at the other end to make it happen. And what we've done with Airtel is a whole lot of courage on their side to say, you know what, we go as far as even brainstorming together in terms of what talent to use for this. I have a story now. Who is the best talent that can bring this alive? What kind of music? What kind of this? I mean, Bolaji will speak more to that. So it's a very healthy, rich, collaboration.
Yeah. Good.
And while
because of time. Okay, go on.
Sorry, I just wanted to quickly say that, hey, just mention some names. Hamad Mokhils was the CEO of Airtel then, and it all started from him, followed by Enis Odin Loye, who was the VP of brands. And of course, our creative director, Maurice Ugwana, was on top of everything all through. So those three, are responsible for everything Airtel that you see, and of course the team that worked under them.
Okay, I just want to say that the one regret I have in my whole career was never hiring Maurice. I got Maurice's CV 3 months before I left DDB. So till now, I always say to myself, it's very interesting. His CV actually popped up in my memory on my Chrome, which was just like 12 years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm so proud of you guys. Well done, guys. I think we're still showing some things here, but we now have time for some questions. So I don't know if there are any questions that have popped up at any point in time. If none have popped up, I still have some more that I would like to just throw out there. I think some things that I'm privileged to know is that we glossed over some of the sweats and the pain of being a creative entrepreneur in a market like Nigeria, for instance. And I think it's sometimes important for the people that are listening or watching to understand that it's not always rosy, it's not always smooth sailing. I would have liked you guys to just share some of those things. I know, for instance, some of the personal sacrifices that Bolaji made. You didn't talk about it, but you do have an MBA in creative leadership. And that required you traveling, leaving work, leaving family, and so many sacrifices that you had to make to be able to have the almost like the authority and the credibility to build a network for yourself at the end of the day. So is there more? Sometimes it can be in pitching, sometimes it can even be in financing and asking for the right budget to follow an idea. Any ideas, any thoughts?
Well, it's a constant thing, if you ask me, because the thing about business, as it were, is it's easy to lose it because of the challenges that you run into, especially now with the economy. And for me, I've always maintained that whatever happens, you must not take your eyes off the ball. You must be known for what you stand for. And you must be growing year on year. It's not just, you cannot live on past glory. And I think that's where the problem is. So if there's any fear for me as an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur, is how do you top what you just did? How do you run away from being, overwhelmed by whatever anybody says about you and all that stuff? I mean, the goal is always to go higher and higher. So you will have challenges, of course. I mean, there are challenges in terms of financing, in terms of, do you have the right talent? I tell you what, Noazak started as a fairly small agency, but by the power of our work and all that, we kind of found ourselves in the league of the big ones, so to say, competing with the big ones, and and because it was your Noazak, so people will believe that we're going to come to Noazak to poach the best brains and whatever. So you cannot necessarily compete, always all the time, like throwing money at problems. There must be more to you as an entity. Noazak is a brand, as it were. So it's leading that brand and ensuring that the guys who are there actually live the brand, to the point that even when they leave you, they are ambassadors of the brand. They are still in touch with the brand. I'll give an example. In the past, not too long ago, some association that we had, we were able to set up a new agency for former partner of ours, using people who used to work with us, basically. Call them back to starting this new thing, they could just join. So that agency actually has a Noazak DNA. I'm sure Bolaji knows what I'm talking about. So that's the kind of brand it is. So whatever challenges that we face, we feel, the most important thing is that we stay who we are. The DNA remains the same. We're always hungry. We're not taken in by the hype of, you are Noazak, you are this and that. No. So every challenge will remain, secondary. The most primary thing is that we maintain that brand essence, as it were. Yeah.
Fantastic, guys. Time is going. I don't want to lose the opportunity of saying happy birthday to you guys. 13 years is no joke. And that you're still going strong. And in fact, Larry, your words almost makes me feel, the fact that you are 13 and you're one of the big ones, and you still have what you call a pioneering spirit to always go back to scratch and almost start from zero again, you know, because every new milestone and every big new challenge is a zero, you know, and I think it's a very interesting thing because it's so easy to sort of rest on your oars and say, you know what, I paid my dues, thank you very much, you know, move on. But to still, you know, still have that spirit of going for new things and new challenges and conquering new frontiers, not in an acquisitive mode, but in a more almost like a childhood innocence discovery mentality, I think is so magical. So congratulations, guys. Happy birthday. I don't have any questions beyond the ones that I've asked. I don't know whether there are more going to come, but in the meantime, Bolaji, do you have any closing remarks for us? And for the people that are watching and the Noah's Ark fans?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to come at the back of what Ellie said about challenges and sacrifices. And there's a lot of stuff about advertising. Oh, TV is dying. Oh, this medium is dead. Oh, the data guys are coming for us. Oh, the content creators are taking over. Oh, it's the decade of the influencers. And there's all of noise about that. But I think if we stay true to who we are, like I keep saying, we've not told our stories yet. I mean, Light Seekers is doing, you know, great all over the world now. And that is just a tip of the iceberg of what kind of stories could be told from this part of the world. By the time you now break that big book down to our own short form format that is just 60 seconds, imagine how many stories we can tell if we have the right and willing partners that would let us do those things. So I am not afraid. I am happy, you know, for all the sacrifices. Like Ellie mentioned earlier, I kind of like take both of you and I just replicate all you've done in your lives. Like, oh, Ellie starts an agency, partner with him. Oh, Femi Kayode started an MBA at Berlin School. You two go to Berlin School. Oh, Femi Kayode is writing a book. How about you two start doing the paintings? You get so inspire me, and then the cycle goes on and on and on. And I think that is all. You know, that's all that matters really. When you see people who are doing great stuff and you aspire to do what they do, and then so that you can be fulfilled yourself as well. And I think as far as the satisfaction from that goes, I make bold to say that, hey, you know, I'm way junior to you guys, but I think, you know, I've got my own following as well, and people who look up and who feel like, hey, you know, you're doing good stuff that is worth emulating. I think that is the pinnacle of it all. It's not about, you know, how much money you can get from it or whatever. It's about the satisfaction you give your clients, and at the same time, you know, the minds that you're growing. And I think that's, for me, that is the reward.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Bolaji. Bolaji, we also look to you. We are also inspired by you. That might come as a shock to you, but we are inspired by you. Your energy, one thing that always inspires me about you is your courage. You know, and really, and I think this is something that I need to share with the people out there, is that to be a truly creative person, like I've said before, Larry taught me that you have to be generous. But beyond that, you also have to have a sense of not caring who gets all the credits. You know, I think that's the only truth that Ronald Reagan ever said. The sky is the limit for whoever does not care who gets the credit, or paraphrase. And I think that is really something that you bring to the table that I really am very proud of. The idea that I don't care who gets the credit as long as the idea gets sold. I don't care who gets the credit as long as the idea is successful. And I think that is what is driving a lot of what we see today. And that is a good lesson out there. So for me, you inspire me on that level, you know, and the determination to craftsmanship. You know, a lot of the creative people that I know were introduced to me by you. You know, you are always very quick to say, no, that's a great guy. That's a fantastic guy, you know, all that. And you never talk down on any creative. I've never heard you talk down on any creative, you know, and I think that's coming back. And so if anybody is watching and they want to know some of the secrets, it goes beyond talent. It goes to generosity. It goes to skills. It goes to self-improvement. It goes to, you know, being what a literary icon of mine, Roxane Gay, calls being a good literary citizen. In this case, being a good creative citizen. I think you're the epitome of that. And Larry, any final words?
Thank you, Femi.
Well, I think for me, it's good to have this reconnection of sorts, because, like you said, at some point when I was going to start this journey, I spoke to you, and I never knew where this would take me. I've been having the most fun of my life. Looking forward to the next 10 years and what that will be. Like I said, for me, it's about, I've always believed that Nigeria needs to make a mark. Bolaji and I shared one miserable time at Cannes. And, we were hoping to at least get on the short list. And that never happened. I remember that particular evening. He went to bed, I went to bed, and we were talking to each other. And we woke up the following day. I don't want to go there and be a spectator. We cannot be just spectators. We have good stories to tell. We have a vibrant, country, vibrant continent, as it were. And, people need to know. It doesn't have to come from the prism of the outside world. We need to tell our own story, find the best way to tell our own stories. And this is one platform that we do that. I don't know what is going to happen next, but my most important, vision is to keep this platform, whatever comes. We always tell ourselves, we go wherever the idea takes us. So the idea of Noah's Ark, wherever it takes us, I don't know what shape and form it will take tomorrow, but the most important thing for us is that we hold on to it and make the most of it so that the world can really hear our story and respect us for it more than anything else.
Great. Thank you, guys. Our time is over. We can continue this conversation on another webinar. But for now, thank you for the honor and the privilege of me being in the same virtual room with the two of you. Actually, it's never happened, in almost 10 years. Never happened that we're actually in the same space at the same time. So I just want to thank the two of you for this opportunity and for bringing me into your world and sharing your dynamic energy. And I'm so privileged. Thank you so much. And if there are other questions, I'm sure the organizers will send to you, and we can also talk to those people directly. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Femi. We feel honored to have you doing this. Connecting the dots. Thank you. Good. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
thank you.
Thanks for joining us.